to our town council workshop to set our agenda for our council meeting for September. Before we move into our items for discussion, I'm going to ask Mark Adkins to do our prayer, and I'm going to ask Dan Epwright to lead us in our pledge, please, if you'll all stand.
Bow with me. Father in heaven, Lord, we just thank you again for just another beautiful and pleasant day here in our city. Lord, we're so thankful and grateful for the things that sometimes we don't pay much attention to, Father, and it's just the breath we take. Father, today we want to lift up all of the employees of our town. We want to lift up our police and fire personnel. We want to lift up every staff member in this building, Father. Just keep a hedge of protection on them. Allow them to do good work for our city. Father, I say a special prayer as well for Chief Kevin Arnold tonight, Father, as we know he's going to be departing his post. Father, we've appreciated his work, and Lord, we just want to give glory to him as he moves forward. Continue to watch over us. Give us the discernment to make proper decisions tonight, Father. We know sometimes in our town those aren't always the best as people see it, but Lord, you give us the discernment to make those decisions, and we try our hardest. So I'm thankful for this council. I'm thankful for the people I get to work with that all get to call Smyrna their home. We ask all these things in your name. Amen.
Amen. Please face the flag, please remove any hats, and the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You may be seated. Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Dan. Before we move into our items for discussion, tonight we have special recognition of a special police officer, and I am going to turn it over to Town Manager Brian Hercules at this time.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. I want to take just a minute and ask you to join me in a moment of silence for the family of the lost child on the 15th in our park. So if you would, just a moment of silence, please. Thank you. On 8/15 of this year, 2022, our Smyrna Police received a call of a gunshot at Lee Victory Park around the basketball courts. This is a call we never want to hear. This is a call we don't want. This call was a tragedy for our community and the loss of a 5-year-old, Levante. The Smyrna Police, Fire Department, and Parks responded, and we are grateful for their response and proud of the response. Tonight we're going to honor one of our officers, and I'm not going to get into her story. I'm going to ask the chief to come forward at this time. Chief, if you would come up and share this very special officer and the response that she gave on the night of this tragedy.
Officer Clemens would come up here and join me. Ladies and gentlemen, on August the 15th, unfortunately in our community, we had a horrible incident happen. And on that night, Officer Clemens was at Lee Victory Park with her family. She heard the gunshot, and as soon as she heard the gunshot, she was with her children. She immediately secured her family and then raced to the threat, as good trained police officers do. When she got there, she saw what was happening, the horrible incident that was happening, and the child that was injured, and she began to render aid to this child until other emergency responders arrived. And in the words of Captain Dwyer, as he wrote the letter to commend her, he described this as an extreme act of valor. And that's exactly what Lindsay did. Lindsay secured her family, she went to the threat, she determined what was going on, and then she began to render aid. So tonight, if Mr. Hercules and Mary Esther Reed would come down here and join me. Lindsay, I'm very proud. At this point in time, I'd like to present you with the Medal of Valor. Thank you. Speech. Do you have any words you want to say?
I appreciate the recognition tonight, but honestly, I just did what we're all trained to do. There's many, many people at the park, innocent kids. It was diffuse a threat or render aid. That's what I did.
Thank you, Lindsay.
You're welcome.
One more. There you go. Perfect.
Thank you, Lindsay. Congratulations.
We would love for you all to stay if you would like to, but if you would like to leave the meeting, you are more than welcome to do that at this point. I hope we'll have somebody left in the meeting after this. Town Manager Hercules, please sit down. You have to stay. On behalf of myself and the town council, thank you to Lindsay and what she made a conscious effort to get up and do on the night of that tragedy. I have no doubt if any one of our police officers would have been there, they would have done exactly the same thing. I do think it's more than just training. I think that you have to make a decision at that point. And I'm glad to know I live in a community in which there's an individual, whether they're off duty or on duty, that'll step up and help those in need. So thank you to Lindsay for what she did. So we will move into our items for discussion. Tonight we have 15 items. Our first is approval of the terms of and authorization for the mayor to execute a contract with R.J. Young to provide a high-volume printer for the wastewater treatment plant. Carl, how are you?
I'm great, man.
Great.
Good to see you.
Good to
Great
see
kicking
you.
us off today. We are partnering with the wastewater treatment plant and identified a need for a high-volume printer. They're currently using a costly color printer for doing a lot of the volume printing that they don't need to. This will be to bring in a printer that will meet their needs and is with R.J. Young, who we do business with frequently on these types of printers.
Questions for Carl on this? We will put that on the agenda. Move on to item 2, which is approval of the terms of and authorization for the mayor to execute the Rock Springs Road tank rehab change order number 1. Mike?
Yes, ma'am. So on the Rock Springs tank, it did not ever have a mud valve. And what a mud valve is, it's basically a T in the line with a locking device that will allow us to drain the bottom 18 inches of sediment out of the tank if there is ever a need to lower the tank to check it or do anything like that. So that's what this is.
Questions for Mike on the mud valve or? Okay. Item 3, approval of the terms of and authorization for the mayor to execute an agreement for the repair and/or replacement of sewer mains in basins A8 and A9.
Yes, ma'am. So this is the beginning of the long-awaited I&I project. It will be basins A8 and A9. The bid will happen on the 30th of August, and as soon as we evaluate the bids, we will get that in the package for the council meeting. We're estimating to begin construction somewhere around the end of October, 1st of November. This is an SRF project. We're guessing it'll take them about 60 days to approve the bids and tell us to issue the notice to proceed. The actual project construction time for this will be about 6 months. There's roughly 5,000 feet or so of line that's either going to be replaced, pipe bursted, some of it will be lined, 23 manholes will be replaced. This is part of a smaller part of the larger basin, which will happen with the Tdeck grant funding that we are getting ready with Jerome and his staff to submit for. So probably be submitting for the rest of the basin towards the end of September. Not sure, it's kind of still a gray area how long the approval process takes, but we would probably expect to go to construction for the rest of that basin sometime early in '23.
Okay. Questions for Mike on this? We'll add that to our agenda. And we will move on to item 4, which is approval of the terms of and authorization for the mayor to execute a renewal contract with adult electronic monitoring to provide alcohol monitoring services for the probation department.
Good evening, Mayor. I had one correction on that. That should have been ADAPT electronic monitoring.
I was wondering about adult electronic monitoring, but I wasn't going to say anything, so.
We've used them for the past 3 years. This is a renewal that'll be a little bit cheaper, going to save the town like approximately $14,000 a year.
Great. Any questions? Thank you. Item 5 is approval of the terms of and authorization for the mayor to execute the annual report to Tdeck to meet the requirements of the Npdes Phase 2 MS4 program. Tom?
Thank you, Mayor, Council. Every year, we've submitted an annual report to Tdeck, just letting them know, as part of our MS4 requirements, to let them know what projects we did throughout the year, any outreach we do, like Boat Day, as well as any special events like Adopt a Stream, Adopt a Roadway that we do. Also have to let them know about any notice of violations that we had to issue to anybody contaminating any waters of the state. So that report has been prepared and submitted to you for review and approval. It has been approved by, sorry about that, it has been approved by the Stormwater Committee as well.
Okay. Questions for Tom on this? Okay, we'll move on to item 6, which is approval of the terms of and authorization for the mayor to execute change order number 2 with Sessions Paving Company on the Lowry Street Phase 1 Streetscapes project.
Mayor and Council, this change order is associated with the Lowry Street project. This moves the completion date to May 6 of 2023 to allow for the landscaping and pavement work to be done in the spring of '23.
Questions for Charles on this?
This is only the landscaping, the rest of it will be completed long before that, correct?
The major part of it will hopefully be done by then and get that in place, but this is, we know we're going to be in December and asphalt plants are going to be shut down, and we know we're not going to be able to get the milling, paving, and striping in at that time, and the landscaping.
While we're on this topic, I just want to make it clear to the public, we're as frustrated as you are in regards to Lowry Street. It is not a town project. It's a Tdot project, and no blame on them, but we are pushing the contractor as hard as we can push them. Would you agree?
Mayor, Council, I'll share with the community, we did have some very frank conversations this week with the contractor, and we have been guaranteed that the concrete part of the work should start Friday or Monday at the latest. They were finishing up a project in another location, but we have been guaranteed they will be here. I know they were back this week doing some of the cleanup on the driveways and those kind of things, some of the work that they could get done before the concrete goes in. I feel very confident that we're going to see some folks in here tomorrow or Monday doing the concrete work.
Great.
Right, like I said, the thing about our concrete sub for the project, he lives here in Smyrna, so he's looking forward to getting home and getting on this project, so he's really wanting to get going on it too, but they just got hung up on another out-of-town project and finish that up before they move in.
The other thing I want the public to know is that left turn lane will be put back in place once the project is going from Lowry across Front
Right,
Street.
that was just a Tdot construction requirement that we couldn't have the drop-offs within 6 feet, or we had put concrete barrier rail down the project like we had done on Sam Ridley, which would made it very hard to move equipment in and out of the tight areas down there. So that's why Tdot came up with taking that out and required us to keep 2 full lanes in each direction.
Right. Okay.
I'll comment real quick. I think just seeing progress matters to the public. And so having Brian and you guys put a little stress about getting those crews back over there and working, because I know that's been a hot topic in town.
It has. We're working in our prime contractor. He's in the same situation, that it's a subcontractor to him that has, hasn't been able to get on the project as soon as they thought they were. So they're working as hard to push them to get on the job as anything, because the contract days are counting.
And as Mayor said, this is a state Tdot project.
Yes, sir.
It's not a city project.
Right, we just administer it for Tdot, but it is with their rules and regulations.
So please be patient, please.
Yes.
Yep.
Charles, is this the concrete you're talking about? Is this for the sidewalks?
It'd be the curb and sidewalk.
The curb would be the first thing they do, is put the 6-inch curb down both sides of the road, and then they'll start building back from there. But that'll be the first thing that goes in, will be the curb, and then we'll have a gap there where we had to take out the old curb and gutter. We had to saw cut that out. Then they'll grout back in between that and fill it in, and we'll leave it down about 1.5 inches, and then we'll pave over that to make it match up with the current pavement.
And the sidewalks in front of the businesses, when will we expect them to be?
They will come in afterward, mainly try and get with the curbs at the road corners, get with those. Not quite sure how their sequence will go, but they'll have to work in from those working points and then work in, and the planters will be the last thing, because they will work from the buildings to put in the proper ADA sidewalks, and then the other cross slope will be made up in the planters
I think, Jerry,
elevations.
the question you're asking, it will, once they start the concrete work, the curbing will go in first, then they will begin the process behind the curb, but it will be continuous. They're not going to pull off of this job and go somewhere else. It's supposed to stay continuous. So,
I think we're all hearing questions from business owners,
I
just like you
know,
are.
I know.
And we want to try to help them out. It's hard enough owning a small business already, and y'all know that, so.
I'm glad you
preaching
mentioned
to
that
the
left
choir.
turn lane too,
Yeah.
because people have been asking, is that gone for good? No, it's not. It'll be back.
Right.
Will the left turn lane open back up after the curbing, or will it?
They'll wait, because they'll just need that for working room to bring the concrete trucks in for the sidewalk. So we don't want to take it out and shut it back down, so we'll leave it through the duration of getting the concrete sidewalks and planters in.
And that was not a decision by us, it was a decision by Tdot.
That was Tdot Construction, even though we had our plans ready to go. When it got to the pre-construction meeting, that was something that Tdot called out, that their construction division called out that we had to make that change. That was our first change order for this, was to do that.
Right. Okay. Any other questions for Charles? Okay, we'll move on to item 7, which is approval of the terms of and authorization for the mayor to execute amendment number 4 with Tdot for the Lowry Street Phase 1 Streetscapes project.
Yeah, this is the Tdot portion between the local government, Smyrna, and Tdot. It changes $221,907 from 100% local funds to a 80-20 TAP funding. This is an increase in $177,525.60 in grant funding for the project. And this contract also extends the time to May 31st to cover the extra allowance for the landscaping and pavement work.
Questions for Charles on this?
So this money can now go back into our current budget in our general fund, since it's now a grant, 80-20?
Our budget will stay the same for now. It's just that we will, because we still had to pay up front and then make invoice to Tdot, but now we just have much more that we can invoice for to get this back. So at the end of the project, there will be that extra funding will be left over.
Okay.
But that was something didn't expect, but we had been working with GNRC about funding, and they were able to work with Tdot to change that from 100% local to 80-20. So we do definitely appreciate the work there.
That's definitely a great surprise.
Yes.
Okay, item 8 is approval of the terms of and authorization for the mayor to execute the contract with Cleary Construction Incorporated for the Spring Hill Extension Project. Charles?
Mayor, this is for the Spring Hill extension from the current termination point of Spring Hill Drive to the Rocky Fork Schools. Cleary Construction was the second bidder. We did bypass the lowest bidder on the project.
Questions for Charles on this? We will put that on our agenda for September. Item 9 is consideration of an ordinance amending Title 5 Municipal Finance and Taxation, Section 806, Advertising and Bidding of the Municipal Code to allow an increase in bid limits. This is a first reading. Jeff, you taking this?
Yes, Mayor and Council. Pretty much stated there in the subject line, but the state law has now moved the threshold from $10,000 to $25,000 for public bid considerations. Correspondingly with our ordinance, we have to make this change to allow us to do so. So any goods or services under $25,000 in a year's time does not have to be publicly bid. If it's between $10,000 and $25,000, still as we used to, you still need to receive basically 3 quotes. Make sure that you're getting the best deal. But this would allow the $25,000 threshold to take place according to Tennessee law.
Questions for Jeff on this? Okay, we'll add that to our agenda. We'll move on to item 10, which is consideration of an ordinance amending Title 5 Municipal Finance and Taxation, Section 815, contract approval and change orders of the municipal code to allow an increase in bid limits. This also is a first reading.
Yes, Mayor and Council, this provision would allow the town manager, if council sees fit, for any of these contracts that are under $10,000, for the town manager, if he believes it's in the best interest of the city to enter into the contract, to sign those agreements without having to go to council. The reason for that is some of these low-cost, low-liability contracts, such as the copier that IT was up here for earlier. Some of those things can be done more efficiently, and it's pretty common with some of our sister cities in Middle Tennessee that have the same provision as well. But I think it would keep your agenda manageable, but also allow the town manager to kind of function more efficiently.
Questions for Jeff? Brian, I would just ask with that, and you already know this, and I know you would already do this, anything, even if it falls in that amount, if it's something you think we as a council
Absolutely.
need to know about, so. Item 11 is consideration of an ordinance amending ordinance number 21-22 to adopt the fiscal year-end 2022 budget amendments. Rex?
Mayor and Council, these are the fiscal year 2022 budget amendments. The general fund, State Street Aid, and Capital Projects Fund have some line items that need appropriated, and these expenses are offset by current year revenues.
Okay, questions for Rex on this? Seeing none, we will add that to the agenda. Okay, we'll move on to item 12, which is consideration of an ordinance relative to the rezoning of property located on tax map 28, part of parcel 57.00 to go from R4 to PRD. It's requested by Rob Mulchin. The property requested to be rezoned contains approximately 7.37 acres and is located on Cheney Road, and this is a second reading. Hey, Kevin.
Afternoon, Mayor. This is a rezoning request on Cheney Road. It's immediately south of Laverne High School football and baseball stadiums. The proposed request would be consistent with our land use plan, which would propose a kind of a mix of the retail and service uses, as well as some high-density residential in appropriate locations. Surrounding zoning is a mix of R4, R6, and C2 in Smyrna, and C1 government use in Laverne. This proposed PRD is for 67 townhomes on 7.37 acres. It's about 9.09 units per acre. About 2.64 acres of the parcel would remain zoned R4 with continuing use as a church. Units would be a minimum of 1,600 square feet in size, be a mix of brick, stone, and fiber cement siding. The end units would have 2-car garages, the other units would have 1-car garages, and all units would have the double width driveways and be set back at least 35 feet from the back of the sidewall. As stated, the existing church would continue to be located on the remaining property. They may have to rework some of their parking in order to meet parking requirements, and we would look at that as a part of the site plan submittal if this zoning approval is approved. The Planning Commission did recommend approval of this request unanimously, and staff would also recommend approval. Nothing has changed on this since you looked at it on first reading.
Council, any questions? There have been no changes since first reading. Seeing none, we'll add that to the agenda and move on to item 13, which is consideration of an ordinance relative to the rezoning of property located on tax map 49, parcel 107.00 to go from C4 to PRD. It's requested by Peter Gay Taylor. The property requested to be rezoned contains approximately 4.38 acres and is located at 10259 Old Nashville Highway, and this is the second reading. Kevin?
Yes, Mayor and Council, this is a rezoning request on Old Nashville Highway. It's about 250 feet south of the intersection with Stewart Valley Drive. Land use plan would support the Old Nashville corridor area, character area, which again would be a mix of kind of that neighborhood retail and personal service type uses, as well as townhomes and attached residential. Surrounding zoning is a mix of C2, C4, R1, and the Lennox PUD. This proposed PRD is for 46 townhomes. Access would be from Old Nashville Highway as well as from Horwick Lane, which is a road within Lennox. Townhomes would be a mix, would range from 1,600 to 2,000 square feet, be a mix of brick and concrete siding. Units would be a mix of 2 and 3 stories. All would have double width driveways and be at least 35 feet between the unit and the private roadway. There would also be additional guest parking. The Planning Commission, an initial motion to approve did fail for lack of second, and then the motion to recommend denial failed as the vote was 2-4-2 against. So with that vote, it was not recommended by the Planning Commission since there was not an approved motion. Staff did recommend approval of the project, and nothing has changed on this since you looked at it on first reading.
Questions for Kevin on this? Okay, we'll add that to agenda for second reading and move on to item 14, which is consideration of an ordinance amending the text of the Smyrna Municipal Zoning Ordinance, Article 4, Section 4.010.1.A, regarding minimum required parking for certain residential uses, and this is a second reading. Kevin?
Yes, Mayor and Council, this is a text amendment to the zoning ordinance regarding parking requirements for various residential uses. Currently, the town does require 2 per unit for 1 and 2 family dwellings as well as townhomes. This proposed amendment would increase that to 4. In addition, the amendment would clarify that garages are not allowed to be counted towards required parking, and then a half space per unit is required within townhome developments for guest parking. These amendments would not apply to age-restricted developments, which have a different requirement already within the ordinance, and that's not proposed to be changed. We did look at some of the surrounding communities. I did include that information in your packet. The Planning Commission did review this, did recommend approval. Staff would also recommend approval.
Questions on Kevin about this? Hopefully this will help with some of our parking issues. Okay, we'll move on to item 15, which is discussion regarding permit fees for food trucks. And I know you all have done quite a bit to prepare for this for tonight. I just want to talk to council first and see, since we have 2 council members that are not here, would you all rather wait until all 7 of us are here at the hopefully at the next workshop, or do you want to move forward with it tonight?
I'm good with whatever everybody decides to do is best. With 2
I
of
just
them,
hate for.
yeah, with 2 of them gone, it might be good to have them here, their input.
Well, Steve being the BZA guy and such as that, it might be, of course, Tim being the chairman of the planning, it might behoove us to give them the opportunity to speak to it.
Okay. Would you be okay with waiting until?
I'm perfectly
That's a good
fine with whatever
answer.
you want to do. Yeah.
Your wife has taught you right,
That's
Kevin.
right, she sure has.
Okay, then we will put that off until our September workshop so that hopefully we'll have everyone here. Anything under other tonight, Brian?
No, ma'am.
Todd? Rex? Chief? Tom? Nothing from probation? You get your first night up and you don't want to come back up? Okay. Chief?
No, ma'am, not tonight.
Nothing? Of course. Come on up, Charles. Come up for another drilling?
Well, Mayor, I actually have good news.
Oh, good.
Got a call this afternoon from our construction inspection supervisor that DeWeese Construction had contacted him, that the surety is going to release them to come back to work on the Lee Victory Rec Park entrance road.
That is great news.
So we're glad that they were able to pull them out of the bankruptcy court order and release them. So
What does our schedule look like now?
they said they may be on the job next week.
Wow.
And we're in about a month worth of work.
Right.
So hopefully, like I said, their field work was always great. It was not their field work that hurt their company, it was their office management. So we're excited to get them back on the project.
Great. Did you have a discussion with them too?
No, ma'am.
No, that one was totally unexpected. I know Mr. Peach, and we've been working a lot with the surety, providing them lots of information about the project, so I'm glad they released it back to them to come back on the job.
Good news.
Yes, ma'am.
Good news.
Hey, Charles, we made a quick video yesterday. There's been some concern, and I've seen a little bit of chatter on Facebook about the Waldron Road project at Waldron Road and Rock Springs. Would you mind touching on that, just so the community can hear kind of what's going on out there?
That's part of the Gwen Springs development. The contractor is doing the work to widen the bridge on Waldron Road and widening Rock Springs Road, which also includes one bridge there. What they've done, they have extended the width of the box by approximately 26 feet, but they left the existing rail in place for now, just until we can get the road surface up to it so we don't have a drop off. If they were to remove that rail now, person's going to cross the bridge could move out to the right and drop off the end. So it's for purely safety, but once the roadway is brought up and paved, the rail will be removed and we'll have a 3-lane roadway with shoulders throughout Rock Springs and on Waldron Road.
Great. Anything else for Charles? Thanks, Charles. While Carl's making his way up here, Mike, do you have anything tonight?
Hi, Mayor. I also have a little bit of good news.
Great.
So early this year, council approved the funding for a new IT infrastructure. We actually took a while to get the equipment here from the supply chain issues, but we started that project at the end of July. There were many nights and weekends involved in doing this work because we tried to minimize the impact to the departments in doing this move. It really took everything from running that we run as IT systems onto a new infrastructure, so it was a huge effort. And I just want to congratulate my team, Patty Bragg, Stephen Beelsma, and I have spent a lot of time on this project. And then Chris Orzino had to pick up and really be the lead for the town support during this effort. And I also want to commend our department leaders for working with us through this because we had to do a lot of coordination with them as we moved their systems. And we had a great partnership and support. So just great news that we're having our closure meeting tomorrow. And so we're all wrapped up and it's a great foundation for our future.
Great. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Amber?
No, ma'am.
Brian D?
Mayor Council, I do have a couple of things. I think I've got some slides coming up. I hope. There we go. First thing I want to talk about is several of us went down and attended the United Way annual celebration, and that's a picture of our team that was there. And I was happy to represent the town and receive the RISE Award from our United Way for our last year's efforts. And, you know, as it typically goes, I get to pick up the award, but that team did the work. And I just want to tell you how proud I am of the work that our group does for United Way. All those dollars come back into our community, so thank you so much to really Mike Strange, Jeff Craig, and Tom Rose, I think, kind of lead this thing for us, and we do appreciate the work they do. Next, we've got a slide. There's some golf pros. Some of you may recognize. Some of them, they ought to turn the putter around and use the right side of it appears, but I won't say anything about that. We host annually
The burden's heavy.
Yeah, the burden is heavy. We host a golf scramble here in town, and all the proceeds going back to our United Way. And this is something that it's become a kind of a tradition. It's a lot of fun. A lot of our vendors get involved. A lot of our local businesses get involved. And I want to tell you, we had a great time. I don't know what the final score was on the council and mayor's team. I think it was -4.
We were headed to 11 under, but
Yeah.
the rain got us.
Yeah. And I know there was another team that did score an 11 under. They didn't win. There was another team that was put together by the town that I'm not sure that they're doing enough work on a day-to-day basis because they had a pretty good score. And one of our assistant town managers won closest to the pin, and the team won.
They cheated.
And then he won a door prize, and so it was like his lucky day, Rex Gaither. Not mentioning any names.
If you collect the money, then you can win the prizes.
$130 market value.
So we had 100.
Brian, I'm gonna have to say this about Rex. He's not spending too much time on the golf course because his legs were the only ones that were wider than mine.
I wasn't gonna say anything about that, but I did see people put on sunglasses when he went by. We had 172 players, just had a great time, and this year it looks like we're on track to have raised $59,000, which is a record. Our highest to that point was $56,000, so it was a great time by all. And I tell you, I want to just call out a couple of people. There's a lot of people behind this, but Jeff Craig, Mike Strange, Tom Rose, Sierra Lowry, Hal Laughlin, Hal and I have talked about this tournament and what we can do as a community to support United Way, and how you guys out, y'all set the bar. I'm telling you, the golf course was in great shape. Everything went without a hitch. And I know that it doesn't just happen. I know your people were involved. They were out there for several days getting the course ready, getting the fairways mowed down where at least we could find the golf balls when we hit them out of bounds and all those kind of things. So thank you to all of you. It's a full committee effort, and it was a great effort, and a lot of fun was had by everybody. Next, I want to remind everybody, Town Hall will be closed for Labor Day, September 5th. Town Hall and our the event center and those kind of things will be closed. But I also want to recognize that we do have several people that still work. Our police, our fire, our wastewater treatment plant, the water plant. The golf course will be open. I think the parks will be open that day. So we'll still have people out there working, but many of us will be enjoying a holiday. And I just want to remind the public that the main office will be closed, but we'll still be here to serve the community. Before I get to my last item, love where you live, I do have a couple of other things I just wanted to share. Some of you may remember, I apologize that I don't, but the chief shared with me this week that somebody that was very dear to the police department, Robert Liddell Haynes, passed away this week. Some of you remember him as an officer here with the Smyrna Police Department. I think he left in the late 90s. 98. But I did want to acknowledge the passing of Robert Liddell Haynes. The other thing, and Mark, you mentioned this in your prayer, we're not going to get into emotional issues tonight with this, but I know there will be a lot of emotion that will revolve around this over the next 30 days. Chief Arnold, who I've had the privilege of working with for 4 years, and I by far believe the best police chief in the state of Tennessee, I've thoroughly enjoyed, as a town manager, having that one-on-one opportunity to work with him. He has, after 33 years and 15 years as our chief, he has submitted his paperwork that he's going to be retiring. And it's well-deserved, well-earned, and we will be getting some information out to you on a reception that we'll have for him. And as I told him today, a top-shelf, first-class chief deserves a first-class, top-shelf reception, and we're going to make sure he gets one. Maybe a little bit of roasting going on, I don't know, but we're going to have some fun with it. And Chief, we just want to tell you how proud we are. I cannot imagine anybody doing a better job the last 33 years with the town of Smyrna in our police department. And the foundation that he has built that will continue to develop and going forward is as solid as you would want in this transition. So Chief, thank you from me as your town manager and from this council and mayor. I know they'll have some things to say, but again, tonight's not that night. I just wanted to recognize it though, to let everybody know what's going on. The last thing I have is, I'm gonna get on my soapbox, love where you live. We continue to see issues with litter in the community, and it's one of those things, folks, we just gotta take a little pride in our community. I hope everyone will heed the heartthrob of taking your trash to a garbage receptacle, or to your home, to a trash bin, or those kind of things, and don't put it on the roads. But love where you live, and do the best you can with the litter issue that we have. And the last thing I have, I think I just said that once before, but I forgot about it. I do have this I wanted to share with you. We did receive, as we talked a few weeks ago, Teresa Wintery at the police department in her dispatch office had a loss in her family, and we acknowledged that loss on behalf of the mayor and the council, and she sent us a really nice note letting us know that she felt our prayers and that she was very appreciative of what we did for her and her family, and wanted everybody to know that. That's all I have, Mayor.
Thank you. Jeffrey L.?
I will mention, we have received the first check of several from one of the national opioid settlements, known as the Janssen settlement. It's a little over $4,000, but it will be distributed in phases. There are still some other companies that are part of other settlements as well, but just want to let you know we have received one.
Great. Anything else?
Nothing else.
Raquel?
So where does that check go? Does it go into like our general fund or specific?
No, there is specific uses that you can have with it, and it's basically for any type of opioid remediation or something.
Okay. All right. Let's see. The Smyrna Barbecue Festival was held on August the 13th, and there is a slide for that, and several of us were able to attend. Mark, Tim, HG, and myself. And according to the Parks Department, it was the largest crowd they have had for this event. There were 15 vendors and 3 bands. And the winner of the People's Choice Award for Best Barbecue was Kinfolks, who is a local restaurant here in the town of Smyrna, and they're located on Hazelwood Street. And the park is hoping to make this a bigger event next year. So congratulations to Mike and his staff for all the hard work for that event. Also, condolences to the Haynes family, and congratulations to the town staff for the award for the United Way. I know that is an organization that is near and dear to the town's heart, and so much effort is always put into raising funds for it. So thank you to all the staff for that. And lastly, I'd like to say to Chief Arnold, thank you for your years of service. We appreciate all that you've done for this town. And that's all I have.
Chief?
Many years ago, not long after I was first elected as Commissioner of Parks and Recreation, of course, Sally Walls was our Commissioner of Fire and Police, and in her wisdom, she put Chief Arnold in as our chief. But that's not exactly what I'm going to talk about, although we do appreciate all that. What'd you say, Robert Liddell Haynes? See, I didn't even know what his name was. We called him Dale Haynes.
Yep.
And then, of course, also known as Muhammad Ali. But the night that he was hurt, Sally grabbed me, and it looked a whole lot like the audience did out here tonight down at Vanderbilt Hospital that night, or, magnified. And I got my first taste of what it was really like to see the inside workings of the police department, the brotherhood of it, and the love and caring that goes on in there. And of course, we got to see that again tonight with our officer receiving her medal. And those things are very important to the fiber of our community. It happens within the police department, it happens within the fire department. And of course, we see all of that come together when we have events such as the Barbecue Fest and the 4th of July event. And those are the things that make Smyrna great. I was real fortunate in the fact that You know, and at the time, you don't think about things like this, but I was at a local store a couple of weeks ago, and I ran into Dale or Muhammad's brother, and his truck wouldn't start. And so I had tried to help him jump it off and such as that, and it wasn't going to start. And I said, well, okay, you want me to take you home? And so we loaded his groceries up, and I took him home. And he says, you know, come on in and come see Dale. Come see Dale. And I went in and saw Dale, and I'm going to tell you what, it was, you know, and today I look at that as one of those gifts, because he was the same. He was the same guy I've known my whole life. The same guy I used to see Jerry pass the basketball to back in high school. I mean, he was a big-hearted fellow, and you know, it's one of those things that Smyrna's lost a good one. But in talking about those events that make up our community, we've got one coming up on September 10th, which is going to be the Rotary Fish Fry, the social event of the season, y'all. Tickets can be bought at Gill's Hardware, and the fish is good, the entertainment's good, the fellowship is the best when it gets down to it. And then coming up in September the 23rd and 24th is Depot Days. The 23rd will be a cruise-in at the depot. Lots of beautiful old cars. There'll be a band and some food trucks. And then all day on Saturday, there's multiple booths out there. A good time will be had by all. And I think there's some surprise bands going to be there too. So, you know, look out for that. But if anybody is interested in a booth, you can go to simatn.org and sign up for a booth. And two other things. One would be to be kind to Mary Esther. Be kind. I know how hard that is for you. And the other one is to shop local. Thank you.
Terry?
Well said, HG. I can't really add a lot to what you said, but I will try. We do live in a special place in this town. So fortunate to live here, so blessed. You know, my heart breaks for that family of that child. When I heard about it that night, just couldn't sleep. So my thoughts, my prayers still go out for that family. I do appreciate what Lindsay did, and I'm glad that we recognize that. And we do have all of them, all you guys that wear the uniform, whether it be Chief Arnold's group, Chief Culbertson's group. We really appreciate it. You know, we say it, but we truly mean it. And I thank you for what you do. You know, it makes us, and I know Chief Arnold says, you know, I can walk down the streets of this town with my grandchildren, and you know, that's kind of the ultimate thing. You know, if I can go somewhere with my grandchild, it's okay. So thank you all for what you do. Chief, we're going to miss you. I know we'll do some more later. We're going to miss you. Maybe we'll get to go some more of them Baseball Hall of Fame meetings, but I thank you for all you've done, and this town thanks you. You guys mentioned Dale Haynes. I did have the fortune to play a couple of years, actually more than a couple of years, junior high and high school with Dale. Dale was probably the best athlete I ever played with. He was the guy could jump out of a gym, and but he was a good athlete and a truly good person that I was fortunate to know for several years. So my thoughts go out to his family, Norman, and the rest of them. And I think Steve Sullivan just had a birthday here recently. I don't. He's probably not watching, but anyway, happy birthday, Steve. And Mayor, I think
Let's
that's
sing.
all.
What do you think?
What's
No,
that?
let's don't.
No.
One other thing. I'm sorry. The last weekend I did have the privilege to go to the spaghetti and wine lunch and dinner. That was a lot of fun. Senior citizens did an absolutely fantastic job with that. Just several of us went to lunch that day, and then we went back that night, and just really enjoyed it. So, and I know they were very pleased with how it turned out. I was talking with Fran today, and she just went on. She said she's still giddy about how things went. So, thank you guys and for doing that, and it was just a fun day. That's all, Mayor.
Yeah, you mentioned the seniors, and I got to attend the lunch portion of that too. And, you know, our senior activity center is on a campaign to raise funds so that they can build a new facility and find a new location. So everything that the community can do to help them along and meet those goals, I know they appreciate that a lot. And it's always fun. The food's good. I tease Fran all the time. I call our seniors our treasures, and so we have fun with the word. You know, it's like go seek the treasure. So, there's a lot of positive stuff going on in town, and I like to stay on a positive path, even when we have issues with delays and things like that that we don't control. I just like to hear from people and talk to people about and explain why. Many times people don't stay in tune with what we're doing. They just see something and they draw a conclusion. We are working hard here, and we're working hard to get senior housing as well. When I mentioned the seniors, we as a council have come a long way in having development come to us that meets the 55-plus community. It's been asked for a long, long time, and I'm really proud of that. I'm glad to see that affordable senior housing is going to be available to our constituents moving forward, to our citizens. So when we see things that may sound a little negative, keep in mind some of that stuff is for that need. That's what we're trying to do. So to the Dell Haynes family, I remember Dell from school. He was a little older than me, but I do remember him watching you guys play ball, Jerry, and I remember when he was a police officer here, and he was injured here, and so I just wish his family our condolences as well. I remember Dell and thought a lot of him. He was a good man. Carl, to your team back there, thank you for getting all that's IT stuff, man. That's above my pay grade, but I appreciate what you and your team did to get all that done recently and make that happen. Jeff, you had some parents that had a 56th wedding anniversary, I see.
That is correct.
So to the Peaches, congratulations on 56 years. I do want to, congratulation's the wrong word for me to say for Lindsay. Because she doesn't feel congratulations is something that she's getting that Medal of Valor for. She performed her job. She stated that tonight. She was on the scene, and that's a tough thing. It's got to be a tough thing. When we talked about, our fire and police people that are always handling emergencies in our town, they see and deal with things, guys, that we don't. And so thank you to Lindsay for what she did and how she reacted. She did her job. And that's really all she would say she wants credit for. And that's, to me, that says a lot about her character. And last but not least, yes, I did say a little prayer for you, Chief, tonight. Chief Arnold is somebody that is dear to all of us, the whole council, this whole city, this whole town. We all think the world of him, have mad respect for you, sir, and your family as well, for Lynn. When I talked to you the other day, I said, you make sure you tell Lynn that she's a big part of who you are, and the support she's given you to do your job over all these years. When I think of you, I think of class and integrity and character. And so we appreciate everything you've done over the years for us. And as a personal friend of yours, I say thank you for being my friend. That will continue, as you well know. I think that's all I had to mention tonight, except, of course, I mentioned Lindsay. I do want to pass my condolences, obviously, on to the family that lost their child. And nobody, and I mean nobody, should ever have to deal with something like that. But it happens. And so an accident occurred, and my heart and my feelings and my prayers go out to that family.
Great. Thanks, Mark. So a couple of items. First of all, the SOAC Family Movie Night will be August 26th and August 27th. You can see Wally. Is that how you wanted it done? Is that right? Okay. At Smyrna Outdoor Adventure Center at 8 p.m. The movie starts at dark. It is $2 a person. It will be there on the front lawn. Mr. Cool's Cool Treats and Grady's Classic Concessions will also be there. Prior registration through Community Pass is suggested, but walk-ups are welcome. Our Smyrna Depot Farmers Market is open each Saturday, 8 a.m. until noon, and it is in our Front Street area. It is a partnership between Carpe Artista, Smyrna Parks and Recreation, and Pick Tennessee Products, and it will run through September 17th. And then we have our Top Gun Night Run. Registration is now open. It will be at 7:30 at Lee Victory Recreation Park. We do have a limit of 650 paid participants. All money goes to the upkeep of the memorial. It is a 6K because of Jeff's number, which is right at about 3.7 miles. You do not have to be a serious runner to participate. Right, Brian?
That's correct, Mayor.
That's what I thought. And it is $50 to enter. Included in that $50, you will get a t-shirt, a super cool medal, and a swag bag. There are 7 different age brackets, and overall winners do get a trophy, and it is chip timed and is a certified race. It will start at the event center, make its way around the airport to the golf course, and then finish up there at the Jeff Coos Memorial. Even if you're not planning on running the race, we encourage you to come out and be a part of the festivities. There'll be band and food trucks, so lots of fun things going on. Condolences to the families we have discussed tonight. Also, I want to add another family. Mark Stuman, who is Tammy Baggett's husband, passed away. I think a lot of us know the Baggett family, and condolences to them as well. Chris, I hope you will come back. I hope we've not run you off tonight. No, not yet? Okay. Second time around we will. So, anything else, council? Last thing I want to say is to Chief Arnold. There's no person that will ever fill your shoes. A foundation was laid by people before you, and you have helped to build a foundation that is going to continue to make Smyrna a great place to live. And knowing that you're there brings a sense of peace, brings a sense of calm. And I know whoever fills your spot will also do that. But the other thing is, it's so nice to drive down Front Street, which is one of the main roads in Smyrna, and see your house. And know that if you need anything, you're right there. All you got to do is come up and knock on your door. That's right. Come to the back patio. That's right.
We still get to park there, right, Chief?
Thank you for what you've done to make Smyrna home. And I think that's what makes Smyrna special, is it feels like home when you come here. So thank you for what you've done, and we will celebrate you from now until the 1st of October, and we're looking forward to that. Council, anything else? If nothing else, we are adjourned.